Hey, Ian at Bex Creations. How are you guys? Already, Kathy Whitney. Hey, already there's only, I just literally just came on. There's already 3 of you. Holy cow. So today we're going to work with our PBO watercolors. We're going to create a little painting with them. As those of you who have been watching Watercolor Wednesday know, I have this fun round palette. I love this thing. This is fabulous. No, it doesn't come with this thing. This is separate. Hey, Lisa. That's great. I didn't want to miss it either. I was doing other stuff and was like, oh crap, it's 5 minutes to 10. So anyway, this little turntable thing I got at my local Tap Plastics store. For those of you who don't know what Tap Plastics is, or you don't have one near you, hey Toy, it is a store that just sells things made out of plastic and acrylic. That's all they have. They make custom things too. They sell these little turntables and these like silicone non-stick dots. I don't know if you're going to be able to see those on camera, but I have them stuck to the top here so that I can put my round PBO palette on here and look. Who doesn't love something that spins, right? Okay, so Tap Plastics, T-A-P Plastics. If you Google that word, they do, I believe, have an online store. So you might check it out. Now this, as you all know by now, I have a pocket box collection. I love pocket boxes. You know, in my lifetime, my daughter's going to probably find a case of pocket boxes in my art room. And, you know, some of them may still be like this one in the wrapper, and she's going to go, what the hell, Mom? And she's going to just shake her head. But I just can't help myself when I find a new pocket box. Hey, I love it when you guys come too. So I haven't opened this one yet, and I'm pretty sure most of the colors that are in here are in the round palette, but the round palette only has, I think there's some greens in here that aren't over here. You know, I can't read it. I need my reading glasses. I don't know. Let's see. So we're going to put the lid underneath, get out the reading glasses. Hey, Christina. Hey, Linda. Hello. Welcome. So yeah, in this, oh no, we have earth green. Permanent green. It looks like we have all the same colors in the round palette. Yeah, Tap Plastics is wonderful, and I do believe they sell online, so check them out. I love that store. Whenever I need, you know, something like this for my art room, or you guys have seen my Twinkling H2O's palette? Maybe not recently. Okay. Ugh. This is my Twinkling H2O's palette. The parts to make this all came from Tap Plastics. So the clear plastic base and the turntable it sits on, because of course it spins. Those are all from Tap Plastics, and they're very inexpensive. So I would definitely check them out when you want to create something like that for your art room. Check out Tap Plastics. And this little tiny one was only $2.30 because it still has a price tag on it. So I haven't opened this one yet. I do need to do a color key for it. I'm not sure I want to do it this morning. I think we want to just get right to painting. But when I get a new kit of watercolors, no matter who it's from, generally speaking, and I have a few of these now that I have to catch up on, I don't unwrap them until I have a chance to make the color key. So frequently when you buy these watercolor kits, the little pans are not marked with the color name. The label is, but the little pans are. So as I unwrap them, I like to write down the name of the color, and that way if I run out of one, I can easily replace it. I love this little pocket box. But anyway, so PBO has lots of different, I'm going to put this in here so I don't forget. Lots of different kinds of watercolor sets. They're supposedly artist grade watercolors. Does this one have? They have light fastness information on the wrappers. There's only one color on here that has a low rating, which is the alizarin crimson. They're not as transparent and of colors as, say, Daniel Smith, but they're pretty affordable, and I'm pretty pleased with them. It's one of the ones I really like and that I'm definitely going to be keeping in my collection. And I love the little white pocket box because, you know, the pocket box is fun. The round palette's my favorite, I have to admit. It's very much my favorite. So we're going to, of course, keep the color key handy. Let's see, let's put it like up there. We have this morning, we're going to work some more on those flowers that we worked on the other day. This is my little binder of inspiration photos I've taken and or altered in my computer. And so we're going to do some more paintings with these flowers, which are going to be more challenging, I think, in watercolor than they were in acrylic, because you can't really, well, the layering of the paint is going to be challenging. So we're going to prop this up over here. The copy of these flowers, the picture, is on my website, GinaBAhrens.com, and there's a page called Inspiration Photos. They're free to download, free for you guys to use and create paintings from. Sell said paintings. You can't sell my photos, but you can sell the paintings and generally have fun with and be inspired by. So feel free to do that. So this is our watercolor journal that we're trying to finish. And if at some point you guys want me to do the color key for that pocket box, let me know. We can do that. And I call it a color key. Some people call it a swatch, color swatches. It just depends on who you are and who you talk to. The Frugal Crafter has been having some really great watercolor videos out lately. She's done one recently where she did a review of Daniel Smith. And she did a color chart, blending chart, not unlike the ones that we've done in our swatch book in past Watercolor Wednesdays. And I think she did a great job with it. And she seemed to really like the paints. I do too, of course. Y'all know that though. But yeah, go over to her channel and watch. Give her a watch. Maybe subscribe if you haven't already. This is my watercolor journal. There's some great paintings in here. There's some paintings in here. There's some failures in here. This is a book of studies and experiments, and there's a few paintings like this where we took 4 of the brands of watercolor we were able to acquire and tested doing 4 parts of the same painting with the different brands. And you can definitely, like in this one, see the pigment quality in the different brands, because we have Winsor Newton, which is a student grade Winsor Newton, Van Gogh, which again was artist grade but kind of student artist, Holbein, which in my opinion is in the same, it's expensive, but it's in the same grade. And then look at these. These are the Coir by Goldman. Look how bright they are. Here's another one. Oh, you watched it, Lisa. What did you think? Here's our cherries that we did. So we're going to flip this around here. Look on this side. And we will put our, let's see, paints over here, I think. Rearrange my table so it makes more sense and you guys can see what I'm doing. Got a variety of brushes here. I think I'm probably going to want to use. This is a Royal & Langnickel Zen 1-inch flat Zen brush. I love these brushes by Royal, by the way. They're very budget friendly. They're synthetic, but I love them for watercolor. They work great. I have a really bad habit of being really tough on my brushes and like leaving them in water for way too long, and the next thing you know, they're ruined. These really hold up to a lot of abuse. Yeah, I thought she did a great job too, and I'm glad she said something about the watercolor sticks because I'm really loving mine. We'll have to work with them more. This is a Princeton Select round number 4. Again, Princeton's one of my favorite brush manufacturers. Here's a Princeton Neptune. This one can be used on watercolor or acrylic. The Princeton Neptune is especially formulated just for watercolor, and I really love the Neptune line. And this is another royal brush, blah, 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 blah. I have had my coffee, I swear. Another royal brush. This is around number 16. Probably my two favorite brands are Princeton and Royal, FYI. They're very, very budget friendly. The Royal are a little less expensive, but the Princeton very often go on sale, like at Aaron Brothers, for buy one, get one free, or buy one, get two free. So love them. I'm going to stick them over here in our water. We are going to need a pencil, because the first thing we want to do is sketch out our flowers, at least roughly. So I'm going to start, I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I want you guys to be able to see this. Maybe I need to use a darker pencil. Well, I don't really want to use a darker pencil. Okay, so there's that one. Yeah, sometimes I do my sketches in watercolor pencil if I don't want them to show, especially. Most of the time I don't care if they show, so I just do them in whatever I have available in. And especially in this book, because this is just really, I forgot to turn the autofocus off. I will. This book is all about doing studies and experiments. And hang on, let me turn the autofocus off because that's going to drive me crazy. I don't know about you guys. There we go. This is all about studies and experiments. And being a mixed media artist, I kind of like the extra texture I get from the lines and everything. Now, you may not be like me, and maybe you don't, you know, the lines really bug the crap out of you. So then you want to probably either not do the initial sketch or do it in something that's water soluble, like Ian said. Use a watercolor pencil, use a pen that you know is water soluble, something like that. And use your photo as inspiration. You don't have to copy it exactly. I am going to reach over here and grab a eraser behind the iPad. I don't mind the lines, but some of the lines are going to bug me. So I'm going to erase a few of them. Of course, you know, most of my erasers are covered in charcoal dust, so that just presents other problems. Yeah, so you have to, you know, it's great to have a journal like this and experiment with, you know, using just a plain pencil, maybe then going over it with a pen that you know is water soluble, adding some color pencil to it, and then painting, or all of the above, and try different things to see what you like, to start to develop your style. There's no shortcut. You all know I would tell you if there was a shortcut. There's no shortcut. The layering of these flowers is kind of complicated, but interesting. So I do want to sort of give myself some kind of a rough sketch to work with before I start painting. No set rules. Remember the most important lesson. We are mixed media artists. That means we don't have any rules. We can break them as much as we want. So now when I start to draw this flower that's overlaying this one, this is where I want to take my eraser, hopefully with a clean end. And I want to make sure that I don't lose track of which petals go where. And I am going to erase some of those extra lines. It'll aid me later. Remember, flowers in nature are not perfectly round. The petals are not round. They're, you know, irregular shape. Nature's not perfect. So remember that when you're drawing your flowers. It's okay if they're wonky. And, you know, especially if you prefer to be more of an abstract, expressive painter, impressionist type painter, you're not shooting for realism to begin with, and it doesn't matter if you're just looking for the feeling the flowers give you. You're not looking to copy them exactly. I don't know if you guys can see this at all. We're gonna do something about that. Let me get my basic pencil sketch in here first. Because looking at my copy of the picture, you can't see a dang thing. Yeah. So hang on. Okay, let me erase some lines. Okay, so we're going to use, where's my pilot pen? Okay, I'm grabbing a yellow Derwent watercolor pencil and my Pilot Varsity fountain pen. This is water soluble. The reason for that is the flower centers are really dark, so I'm thinking to add this to the centers, which will give some interest, but also enable you guys to see the, you know, basic lines that I sketched in here. Okay, so there's where our basic flowers are. And then I have this yellow Derwent watercolor pencil. And I'm going to go around. In the picture, if you look at the inspiration photo from the website, the, you know, tips of the flower centers are very purple and dark, and the edges of the petals are very yellow. If you wanted to change the color of these flowers, of course, you could do that. You could put your photo in black and white. Why is it every time I'm live is when people start messaging me? I don't know. It's pretty funny. Now you're starting to be able to see it on camera. Yeah, or use Photoshop. Ian did some great job with these flowers, and he posted them in an album in the Facebook group where he completely changed the color of some of the flowers, and he did a great job. So you could use his photo. You could, if you have Photoshop, which I have Premiere Elements and Photoshop Elements, but I know it will change colors of things. I don't know how. to use it that way. I'm still learning. Okay, so that's interesting, like base. It gives us a basic, you know, idea of what we're shooting for. The first thing I'm going to do is take my flat brush and I'm going to come in here into the background and just get it wet. I forgot to get a rag. I'll get one in a minute. Get it wet. Rag. Always start with a rag. All right, and we need to wet our paints down. I swear to God, I have gym brain this morning. I went to the gym this morning and my brain is just not, I don't know. It's not engaged. Now again, this is a spray bottle I keep just for my watercolors. I like the Frugal Crafter. I prefer to work from pans, but I don't always. When I do work from dried out watercolor paints or pans, I use this spray bottle because it has oxgall liquid in it, which aids in the re-wetting and flow of your watercolor paints. Water break, hang on. You can get oxgall liquid at any arts and crafts or paint store. Okay, so we're going to go with one of our greens. Let's see. Let's do some of the phthalo cyan green. I don't think that's probably how do you pronounce that. I'm pretty sure I just butchered the crap out of that. But isn't it a pretty color? Now, because the paper was already wet, it's going to like blend and do this fun kind of abstract thing, which we really like. I really like. Okay, we know we want to start light and work our way darker, right? So we're going to start our flowers with lemon yellow. Oh, thanks, Lisa. If you guys have any questions, you can ask them here about something in my articles or video. You can ask them here, or you can ask them in the Facebook group. Just remember to tag me if you put them in the Facebook group. So the flower petals are yellow on the edge, then white or cream, and then they go to purple. It's a strong color, yeah. This is, I don't know, this is yellow. This is deep cadmium. So and this is lemon yellow, so this is light. Because it's going to blend with this deep cadmium. Now this is, look at this lemon yellow. Look how bright that is, and I've only picked up that little bit of paint, and look how far I'm able to get. Right? I don't want to go too far because I want to be able to come in here with some water. And just blend it out a bit. You will find as you're working with your watercolor and you're experimenting and you're painting, something that I knew but I forgot about until I was watching one of Lindsay, the Frugal Crafters videos. Some of the watercolor paints, you know, they lift easier than others. Your fine artist watercolors that have the pure pigments usually lift better than the ones that are dye-based. They usually stay in the paper. They're harder to lift. Okay, I do want to blend that pencil in a little bit around the edge. Okay, so it's more of our lemon yellow. We'll keep moving our way around. Watercolor pencils are a lot of fun, and they're easy to take when you're traveling. So, or the watercolor crayons, like the Daniel Smith crayons. They're a lot of fun, and they're easy to, like I said, to take around and still, you know, kind of create some interesting watercolory pieces. Now we just have some plain water. And I'm not going to be too precious about any of my lines or too controlled. I'm not a big fan of how my artwork turns out when I try to be too controlled. I feel like that really shows in my work. And I'm usually not happy with the result, which is why I started doing more expressive pieces in the first place. Okay, so we're going to let that dry a little bit. We're going to work on one of the other flowers. I'm actually going to let this part dry right here, and I'm going to work over here. If it's not dry when I want to do this, I can come in with the heat gun, which is nearby. Don't forget, if you guys have any questions to ask, I'm here to answer questions. I'm going to come in with the big flat brush here. Just remember what I said about not liking things looking too controlled. You hear my stomach growling? Jeez, it's loud. I did eat breakfast. It's better. I've used the Inktense pencils, and I like them. They give you a different look, and you do have to be really sure, you know, as you're working with it, that you're real happy with that color in that place. And if you're not, to do something about it really quick, because they are, you know, permanent when they're dry. But you know, it's kind of an artistic challenge, and you know, who doesn't love a good challenge? So we're going to do this whole painting today with the PBO watercolors. As you can see, they're very nicely pigmented. Nice bright colors. I haven't had too much of a problem with them being too chalky or anything. They do have mixed reviews online. I love this brush, and I got it on sale. Royal did send me some of their brushes, but I had already purchased this one. In the interest of all fairness and disclosure, they have sent me some of their brushes. They sent me some sizes I didn't have, which I love because they're great. Okay, like that. So now we're going to come in with our same round brush we've been using, and I'm going to just activate some of this Pilot Varsity pen and let that dry. This is going to bleed that way because I got a drop of water on it, but we're going to just work with it and be okay with that. Don't you just love what that pen does when you get it wet? I just love that. Okay, so let's see, water break. I think I'm going to go into dark cadmium yellow. I think we're going to do dark cadmium yellow, which is this yellowy orange color. Okay, that is really wet. Yeah, brushos are great. I haven't played with mine as much as I want to, but they're great. I do have them. I also have some of the Color Bursts. And I just got some magicals in. So we're going to be playing with those in some future episodes. So the flower has layered petals, so I want to make the petals behind the ones on top a little darker. I'm not minding if the darker yellow is mixing and kind of going everywhere. I want it to be suggestive. I don't want it to be too controlled. At the same time, I'm going to keep my rag handy, and if I get too much of the yellowy orange, I can just lift it up by pushing the rag into the wet paint. And that gives me a really pretty effect. I like the way that looks. I tend to be a sloppy painter, so that's why I usually have a piece of deli paper covering up the finished pieces underneath my pages here. Okay, there's another giant puddle of water, which I don't normally mind, but I don't want to dry it because I want the paint to mix. That puddle's a little bit too big. I don't know where I thought I was going with all that water. Okay, so then I'm going to do what we did before and come in here and lift up some of the pigment. You see it's lifting pretty easily. Well, you know, those of you who've been watching me for a while know it's hard for me to go out and go shopping because of my asthma. So I tend to just not bother most of the time and just mail order stuff. But the few times I've been out shopping, I haven't seen the color bursts in the stores. That doesn't mean they don't have them. It just means I haven't seen them. So I ordered mine. Okay, that's looking pretty interesting. Let's keep going and let's let that dry a little. And let's go over here. Put some color in. And let's then put some water. If your page is not wet enough, then don't go too far before you add some water. If you like the blendy, puddly kind of, you know, expressive look that I do, if you're shooting for something similar, it's really all about controlling the water puddles, to be honest. I'm feeling like I want to put in a little bit right here. So we're going to do that. Okay. And let's go up here to this one. I'm still using a pretty big brush, which I don't have tight control over, but I kind of like that. It's helping me keep my, you know, color loose and expressive. I have less control over it. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. Remember with watercolor to stay to start lighter and work your way darker. Places that you want to have white in the end are best left white, or you can go back and add white gouache or white acrylic paint, white gel pen. We're mixed media artists, so there's not really any rules. Okay. There's a little bit of green in the tips of some of the petals, and I'm not sure if it's a reflection or what, or if it's the way my photo printed, but it's interesting. So we're going to take a little bit of green, and I think we're going to use the same green we used in the background. I need a plate. Aren't these little plates cute? I found these at the Japanese dollar store. I'm sure it's meant for like sushi or something. right, let's see. Okay. I'm forgetting to talk again, aren't I? Oops. Looking at my picture, let's see. Yeah, I'm told too, by the way, Ian, that the color burst is more vibrant. So I am looking forward to swatching them out, which I haven't done yet, and comparing them to the color burst. But back to the PBO. I'm not sure how many colors that they have. I know that the sets weren't super expensive, and I'm pretty happy with the ones that I have. This round one is just, I really like it. I like the color selection, and I like the round palette. Let's be real. The round palette is just a lot of fun. So I want to make sure to get in here really quick with the water and blend this green out, because I want a hint of the green, but I don't necessarily want these large green blobs, which requires me putting water on the paper, working a little bit quickly, and scrubbing at it a bit. This one's a little dry, but it's all right. And then you can come in and again lift a little bit. That's pretty good though. Let's see. I've been looking at Reeves. Yep, I love a good watercolor crayon, and the Reeves brand in general is pretty affordable. They're pretty nice. All right, so now we're gonna let the petals dry a bit. I think. I don't know. I think. And we're gonna work on our flower centers a little bit, and I'm gonna come in here first with indigo. Indigo? No, I don't want to do indigo. I want to do Prussian blue. The Reeves, I'm not sure. They may be. It's always good to be mindful of your supplies being toxic or not, and to make sure that you take proper precautions when necessary. Not all brands are created equally, and some pigments are toxic, and you really need to, above all, just make sure you wash your hands when you're done really well. I mean, I wash my hands a lot to the point where they're kind of dry. And it's not an old age thing. It's I'm an artist thing. I mean, they're dry because I'm having fun and doing what I love, so I don't mind it. But you do want to make sure before you like eat anything or touch your eyes or anything like that, that you wash your hands. Maybe somebody else knows if the Reeves are non-toxic. I'm loving the way this is starting to look. Am I the only one? Okay, where do we want to go now? Let's see. I don't want to add the obvious brown, although there is brown in the flower centers. I'm kind of not wanting to do that. We are going to add some violet. Now, there's only one violet in this palette. Now, if If it was up to me, we'd have a couple violets, but one is better than none. I do have some palettes I bought that have no violet. I don't like that. So if they conform to AP standards, they're probably non-toxic, which is good. It might also mean, though, that there's no light fastness, so you want to be careful. Yep, exactly, Lisa. I had a daycare business for a long time, and I did lots of art with the kids. They loved art time, and you know, you just have to make sure that you have supplies that are safe for them to use, and honestly safe for us to use. We can take precautions and know to wash our hands. They don't always, and they stick their hands in their mouth. So you want to be careful. I'm not going to clean these up too much because I'm loving this blobby shape that I'm getting. This purple, crazy purpley, an anemone kind of thing going on here in the flower center. And this violet is violet permanent. I almost said ultramarine blue. It's not ultramarine blue. So these flower centers are wet. While it's wet, I'm going to add darker pigments. There's this purple that's in the center of these flowers is really dark. And the pigment's going to blend out into the water. It's going to take the easy road. And I love that. Yeah, you know, we all used to do that. We used to drink water from the pipes that probably had lead in them. We drank water out of the hose, right? We all survived. That doesn't mean that it was smart to do. Okay, now I want to dry this a little bit before we do anything else. This is a good time for questions if anybody has questions. I'm lifting the paper up because I can see where it's still shiny and therefore wet. I can also see where there's blobs of water that are way too big. Okay. That's true. We're still here to talk about it. Okay. That was back in the day where, you know, our parents could open the door and say, get out, go play, and weren't worried about us being supervised because they didn't have to worry about anybody snatching us. All right. We are going to switch to a smaller brush, and I'm going to use the Princeton Neptune round number 8. And now I'm going to go in with, I want to add some pops of shadow. I do think I want to use one of the darker. There is a Payne's Gray in here, and I think that I want to use the Payne's Gray. There is a black too, but I think I want to use the Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray in my mind is more interesting. Now the black that's in this palette is kind of a black, a brownish black. The Payne's Gray is more of a bluish black, or it kind of reminds me of neutral tint. If you have fine art watercolors and you have neutral tint, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of this. I know, right? That is a shame. I mean, I remember having some great fun with my friends outside. We lived near an orchard and we went out and played. Our parents didn't worry about it. I'm going to take a cue from my inspiration photo about where the shadows on the petals should be, where the upper ones are laying on top of the lower ones. I'm going to put some Payne's gray on there, and then I'm going to come in with a water brush. Now, if I'm not quick enough, like I really kind of wasn't, and it dries a little bit, I'm okay with that. It doesn't really bother me. Have your rag handy. If you get somewhere you don't want it, you can lift it. There we go. Do you have, let's see, I'm filthy and happy and yeah, exactly. And Beck's Creations. Do you have a white preference with this type of painting, i.e. soft and blendy? I don't understand the W-I-G-H-T word, Ian. Maybe it's misspelled. Maybe I just don't get what it means. It's very possible. I'm no rocket scientist. I know just enough about a lot of things to get me into big trouble. I kind of like the challenge when I'm painting with any medium of having to work with whatever happens on the paper while we're waiting for Ian to type, because I'm not sure what he means. If somebody knows what he means, please, by all means, write it on there. So remember to use your brushes to your advantage. And, even if you just have one size of round brush, you're going to get different marks with it if you hold it different ways. So remember to use that. No worries, Ian. I mean, seriously, I butcher English on a regular basis, and frequently people do not understand me. I prefer 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper, which is not super textured, but it's not super smooth either. And I prefer that. Now, if I'm going to create something that I know for a fact is going to have to be turned into a digital image at some point, meaning it's an illustration for a book project, or it's something that's going to be turned into, a background for something I have to scan into the computer, then I will use hot press super smooth paper, because it scans better, and you don't get funny shadows because of the paper texture. So, but generally speaking, when I'm just working this way, I'm using 140-pound cold press. That's my preferred. It's not as textured as rough press, but it's not super smooth either. And I've been using it for so long. When I try to use the hot press, I can do it, but it's a lot more challenging, because it's I'm not used to it, and it seems like the paint blends differently because there's no texture. It doesn't stick as easily, into the cracks and crevices of the paper. Hey, welcome. The other thing too is, you know, when you're creating paintings and you're working on a piece of artwork, if you get stuck and you're not sure where to go, well, first of all, if you're in my Facebook group, you can always ask someone in there for some help or some feedback. We always give kind feedback. But you can also, something I found that's handy is to take a picture of it, or like right now I'm looking at the video of the painting and I'm looking at it to see how it's looking in the video. Somehow taking a photograph of something, there's something about taking a photograph of it that really works really well, giving me a new perspective on whatever I'm working on. Sometimes just stepping back doesn't do it, I should say. So I'm going to drag some of this darkness around because this shadow, this flower back here is really behind everything else and it's really in shadow. It's very helpful project through another lens. It's probably the best tip I can give you guys is to break out your phone and take a picture. If you're a YouTuber, look at it like right now. I'm looking at it on the screen. It's very, very helpful. The paint is really actually pushing around very well. Talking and painting is challenging. That's me. That's not the paint. And that's me with it. It wouldn't matter what kind of paint we were using. I'm going to put some lines in here. I might blend some of them out, but I'm kind of wanting some lines in here. So let's do that. And I'll look at the questions in a minute. So I'm just using the tip of my brush. Remember too, when you're working from an inspiration photo, it's an inspiration photo. If you want an exact copy, print the picture. But if you want to create an interesting piece of artwork, use said picture as inspiration for your art. You're going to be more pleased with it. Unless you're one of those people that really like, the process of creating, photorealism. I am not that. That's not me. That's never been me. I find it tedious, to be perfectly frank. Some people love it, and I am not going to knock you if you do. In fact, I probably admire you because I have absolutely no patience for it. Never have, probably never will. My sister does. Karen is a realist painter. Okay, let's see. Come in here and blend out some of the marks I just made. Oh yeah, I like where that's going. I am going to blot up some of the extra water. Okay, let's see. Yeah, taking a picture and walking away from the picture for a day or so. Yeah, and turning, if you have a journal or canvas, turn it around sideways, upside down. You'll see Flora Bowley doing that a lot. Okay, now I gotta say, I like what happened with those marks almost more than down here. So I'm gonna blend some of them a little bit, but I'm not gonna add any more. and I'm going to leave them. I love the expression they give me up here in this flower. I absolutely love that. Okay, so we're going to go back to our yellows, and I'm going to use our medium yellow. And I'm going to use it in a pretty strong form. I'm going to basically use it straight out of the pan without adding any water to it any more than I have to get the paint to work on my brush. So it's a pretty strong, as you can see, it's a pretty strong bright yellow. This is cadmium yellow pale. Yeah, I agree with you, Ian. And one of the reasons, you know, I work in these books and that we do Watercolor Wednesday, these are studies. Like I've said before, not all of them turn out well. Some of them are some of them are bad. I mean, I have people that I say that on camera and people are like, seriously, I don't see that. I do. But these are studies. So I'm learning about this composition. And if I wanted to do this composition again, and I wanted to do it for sale, I've learned a few things from just doing these flowers that I would know that I would want to do again and what I would not want to do again. Now, one of the things I always have a hard time with if I don't use masking fluid is leaving white space. And you notice I've almost completely lost my white space on all of these flowers. That's pretty normal for me. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I paint them and decide that I'm not crazy about that composition or those flowers, and I don't want to paint them again. Sometimes I decide, you know, I really like them as they turned out in this journal, and I take copies of the actual page and turn it into something that's reprintable because I don't sell my journals. And sometimes I think, you know, I really like that painting. There are things I like and don't like about the way it turned out, but I think I want to paint it again in, you know, a full copy for sale. Now, I will tell you that I sell more lessons and more digital copies of paintings than I do actual paintings. Not by choice, just because that's just the way my market is. And I'm okay with that, unless I'm doing a show or something. When I was still in a, you know, artist cooperative gift shop and selling, then I sold a lot more original art than I do now. Part of that is, I think, because of shipping. Shipping is really expensive. And unless you live in town and you want to come by and buy a painting, it's really hard to be able to afford the shipping. Yeah, wax resist is a good way to do it. And you don't have to have anything fancy. You can use a white Crayola crayon. I'm looking at the let's see. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the picture on the video. Oh, sorry, Kathy. Alrighty, now what do I want to do? So we have yellow ochre. Get a baby wipe. So yellow ochre. Hey, Sabrina. Usually somebody in my family calls, you know, when I'm in the middle of broadcasting at Beck's Creations. So no worries. I know how you feel. This is yellow ochre. Yeah, I just was looking at the flowers in the display on my iPad, and I switched my view or resolution on the broadcast that I'm viewing to 720p. So if you're on a tablet or that sort of device, if you click on the screen, in the upper right hand corner, there will be three vertical dots. Click on those, click on the gear, and then click on your preferred resolution. So I'm just using the yellow ochre to add more interest to our flowers here. Some sort of like expressive lines. Some of those lines got too thick, but that's all right. We're gonna make them work. That's getting better. I'm liking it better. All right, we're going to take some of the same yellow ochre color. We're going to add some of it to our flower centers. At least the two centers that we can really see a lot of them anyway. Can't really see that one too much. I like that. Looking at my picture. Yeah, the colors are staying nice and crisp. They're flowing where I want them to, when I want them to. They blend very nicely. They lift fairly well. I enjoy these PBO watercolors, I have to say, very much. And as we add more layers to this painting, I'm getting more and more happy with it. So I'm going to go back to the Payne's Gray here, and I'm going to work on our sunflower centers here. It's a pretty yellow. Their yellow ochre in this set is very nice. All the yellows in this set are very, very nice. I'm going to take our purple that's in here. And I want to darken it up a little bit. So I want to get a fair amount in here with some of the Payne's Gray. I want a dark purpley gray. And you can see how easily these blend. They blend very easily. Not all paints do. Sometimes some of the brands really just don't want to mix with each other, and you know, you can try to get the paint color that you want. It's really difficult. So as you can see, something else I'm always talking about on camera, every painting has an ugly duckling stage. Every artist who's honest about it will tell you that they all have an ugly duckling stage. And you know, you just keep working through it. If you keep working through it and you don't let yourself get frustrated, you can really, at the end, come out with a really nice piece of artwork. And that is no matter what your medium. That doesn't matter if you're working with watercolors or acrylic or markers or whatever you're working with. Yep, see, the gear is handy. So, and generally I've been trying to remember lately to tell you guys about it at the beginning of the broadcast. I've only managed that a few times, but yeah, the gear is very handy, especially when you're having problems with things buffering. It's kind of like on my webcam, it's like the autofocus. When that drives me crazy, I just click it off. You just have to keep going. That's exactly right. And if you're just starting your art journey and you know, you're really wanting to learn how to be better at things, there's no shortcut. There really isn't. Just practice and have fun, and at some point things will just click for you. I know that sounds trite, but it's completely true. Anybody worth their salt will tell you it is. There's just, at some point, whether it's in the middle of taking a class or listening to a broadcast or a recording or reading a book, something will happen that will just click for you. A piece of fuzz. So these are starting to come together nicely. I'm happy now. Okay, so we're going to go in with earth green, which is a dark, like brownish kind of green. And I want to just add a little bit of it to like the background. It's like a gray green. I shouldn't say brownish. I should say gray green. This round palette is nice because I think it has 24 colors. Yeah, 24. Half pans. It says demi godets. That means half pans, I guess. And it comes with a brush, which I haven't used yet, but I don't know that I'm too excited to use because I'm not so sure I like it. Well, Ian, we all have art failures, and sometimes those just need to be painted over. I have a lot of canvases in the garage that you guys have not seen that I would classify as painting failures. So I just grabbed, what did I just grab? Indigo. You know, especially paintings from when I first started learning. And you know, and honestly didn't really know what I was doing. Oh, that's the wrong color. And why I thought I had to paint on canvas and I couldn't just paint in a journal, I don't know. You can. I prefer to do like these kind of studies in journals, and then, you know, if it's a failure, that's fine. I can keep it for posterity. You could even like make notes in the margins about, you know, what you thought you liked and what you thought you didn't like, what was a success and what was a failure. And then, you know, just shut the book up and stick it on a shelf somewhere. Why I ever thought that you had to do everything on canvas, I have no idea. But now I've got a garage full of ugly duckling canvas. This is still the indigo. Okay, I'm going to take some of that indigo. I'm really liking that color, and let's put some of it in our flower centers. I am going to come in here with some gel pen. I'm going to dry this and come in here, with, I think, with some orange gel pen or orange paint pen and maybe gold. Excuse me, and add some highlights to the flower centers. There are these gold little seed, gold and orange little seed heads in the flowers. So when you're working on your paintings, you know, and you're working on the shadows and the light, first of all, Gene Haynes has some great books on that, but use your cooler colors for the shadows and your warmer colors for the light. You'll be real happy with the results, I think. Just experiment and play. Cool colors would be violet, blue, some of your greens. Warm colors would be orange, yellows. Oh yeah, you gotta make sure you use, you don't have to use expensive paper when you're starting out, but you do need to use the proper weight paper for what medium you're working on. If you're working in mixed media, most of the time it's safest to just stick with watercolor paper, 140 pound at minimum. And I've put plenty of holes in paper, and when I tell you to use good weight paper, I speak from experience, because when I first started, I was watercoloring on drawing paper, people. And I still have some of those. And talk about making holes in paper, like seriously. So this is more of that medium, what is this? Pale, cadmium yellow pale. So layers. One of the things I've always loved about watercolor is that you can just layer your colors on top of each other. You can still see all those other marks because the watercolor is transparent. I just love that. There's just something about that. I am going to have to stop adding color here at some point because we need to get in here with and bring some of the white back, and we need to put those orange seeds in. So let's see. Okay, let's give it a dry. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, I'm going to use my small brush. Just because I want a little bit of control over what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to come in here with the white. And I cleaned off my palette because I'm not sure, I don't know that I'm not going to need that. This is the white from the PBO palette, but I'm not sure. I really didn't leave white, as much white as I wanted. So this is watercolor, although your white in any of your palettes is usually more opaque than the other colors, so that it's opaque enough for what I want to do, and it's not really. So let's see. This is Golden Fluid Acrylic, titanium white. I'm just going to use a little, grab a few drops. And because it's an acrylic, I don't want to use my watercolor brushes on it. So I am going to grab a acrylic brush. This is obviously a well-loved brush. Thank you, Kathy. And Ian, we all have that. That happens to the best of us. Okay, so this is, like I said, this is a fluid acrylic, so it's semi-transparent color, but it's more opaque than the watercolor. It's not going to completely cover up the watercolor paint, but it's going to give me the like white highlights that I want with little effort, because remember, I'm the lazy crafter. With a little effort and quickly. And, you know, we're mixed media artists, so don't, you know, let anybody tell you that if you're, you know, painting with a watercolor that you can't use anything else on the painting. That's a loadable. Use what makes you happy. And you could use a soft body acrylic paint. I like that this one has some transparency to it. And I would rather have a few like semi-transparent or transparent layers than one opaque layer. I love golden fluid acrylics. They're fun to paint with, but they're pricey. But look how that made that flower start popping. Okay, so the other thing we can do with this paint is there are a few white dots. Okay, and let's see. Thanks. I like that. So I wasn't sure I was going to like them when we got started putting the color in, but I like them now. And that's usually the case. You know, there's always a stage when I go, oh God, that's really ugly. And you have to do this and make this mistake live on camera. Really? But if I just keep at it, I find that at some point I get something I'm really happy with. That's generally the case. Now, did I learn some things creating this piece? Oh, of course I did. And if I was going to do it again for sale or on a greeting card, there are probably steps I would omit or, you know, maybe shortcuts I would have taken. I don't know, though. I think I would have maybe done the same steps because I like the way this is coming out. Now, the original inspiration photo has like veiny, like folds in the flower petals. So I'm trying too hard not to blend all of the brush strokes out of this white acrylic paint, and it's very subtle. I doubt you can see it on camera, but it's just lending an extra something to the flower petals. And I'm going to just use up the white acrylic paint here that I have. Which Susie are we looking for, Lisa? There was some debate on the internet about the name of these flowers, and I don't know who's right, and I don't know what they're called. I'm not what you'd call a gardener. I like to grow vegetables when I can, but now that I have asthma, it's hard for me to even do that. So, and I was never great with flower names to begin with. Ah, so look at what that did to the painting. That made a big difference. I'm really liking the way that that's looking very much. It is making me want to do something else, though. Let's see. Ugh. I have an orange. Let me find it. Hold on. Yep. That orange. No, not that one. Pyro orange. Maybe not that one either. I'm looking for my orange, people. Okay, so I have some. Oh, she might not know. Lots of people don't know how to use the chat. That's pretty common. So some of my fluid acrylics are getting pretty old. I try to get in here every now and then and put some water in them, but this is quinacridone gold. That's a lot of it. I'm going to take some of it out. And this is Hanta Yellow Light. Orange is really going to make it pop. And remember what I said about gel pen accents? Well, you don't have to just do gel pen accents. You could do, like we're doing, acrylic paint accents. The goal is not to cover up the watercolor paint. We're accenting the painting by adding some other medium. I have no idea. That they could very well be. So some things I don't like about this flower are there's too much of the dark, and it's too regular and uniform. So this is, what did I say this was? Hanta Yellow Light. Again, this is a golden fluid acrylic. And I'm not looking to cover up those dark lines. I'm just looking to break them up a little bit. And that's making a big difference. Now, whatever you do to one flower, you probably want to do to the other ones. At least in a few places, right? And don't be afraid to just, put some paint on here and make a mark. Just, make a suggestive mark. This color is a very warm color, very suggestive of sunlight and brightness and warmth, like any of your yellows are in any of your mediums. So put it in your places where you don't have enough highlight. Maybe you took too much away. Maybe there's too much shadow. I agree. I think it's some kind of daisy. I don't know what kind exactly, but I think it's some kind of daisy. Okay, so I'm going to just add some of this in random places. And that's really making our painting pop. And sometimes I'm happy to just work with one medium and I love the results. And other times my muse is just screaming at me to get in there with something else. This is one of those paintings. And don't forget, with acrylic paint, especially if your background's dry, you can get in there with a baby wipe and you can just blend it, smear it, wipe it up. Okay. So we're going to take, and see, now I'm loving where that's going. I like that. Okay, so we're going to take some of our yellow, and this isn't in the inspiration photo, but I'm going to add it anyway because I think it's going to add a nice pop. And I'm going to put just some dots in the flower centers. So I got my PBO watercolors from Amazon. I have no idea if what stores might carry the PBO watercolors. There is a store in Santa Cruz, California, that Palace Art and Office Supply, that has their acrylic paints, but I haven't been there in a while, and I honestly have no idea if they have the watercolor paints. a few too many yellow dots. Over here, that's a few too many. So let's get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this gold, and I'm going to just add some yellow to it because I want to make it less watery, but I also want to make it more orange than it is. And this may not be bright enough. I may still want to come in here with a brighter color, but we're going to see if we can make this work. Now I'm being a lot more deliberate in the dot placement on the painting than is in the photo, because I think that it's adding something interesting to the painting to do that. And you'll notice I'm doing kind of a C shape here, a C shape here, and then in the photo there's just random peaks of dots of this center coming out from behind the petals, just like that. And I do have my brushes in the acrylic in one side and the watercolor in another, so they're separated. Don't put your watercolor and acrylic brushes in the same water. So I like the way this turned out. I think it's really good. I think it's done, and I'm pretty happy with it. The original flower was about this big around. I don't know, how big is that? 2.5, 3 inches? To be perfectly honest, I was kind of, God, I hope nobody's watching this that I know. I was bored at a party, and well, maybe not bored. I get distracted really easy. My husband's nickname for me is Dory. And these flowers were sitting next to me in a flower pot, and I couldn't help it. I took a picture. Now see, where we started with this painting and where it ended up are two completely different things. I love this painting. As it is something that I would scan and reproduce, put on a postcard, put on a greeting card for sale. I love the way it turned out, but there was a point there where I thought, holy crap, what mess am I making, and how come I have to do this on camera? Hey, Jody. So PBO watercolors, I'm pretty pleased with them. I did go in and accent this, Jody, with some golden fluid acrylics, but that's not because there's anything wrong with the paint. With this particular composition, I would have done that no matter what paint I was using. I think that the PBO watercolors this 24 color set is nice and bright. It's got a good selection of cool and warm in each of the colors, the yellows, the reds, the blues. It's got a good selection of greens and browns, a Payne's gray and a black and a white. Although, to be honest, like Lindsay, the frugal crafter, in any of my palettes, I can always lose the white, not because I don't use it, but sometimes, like with this painting, I would find it more helpful to have a small bottle of a fluid acrylic or a small sample size tube of a white acrylic paint in the watercolor box than the white watercolor paint. I'm not a huge gouache fan. I just never was able to get into it. And when I want to make something that's opaque, or I want to add opaque accents, I tend to grab my acrylic paints, and that's what happened here. I do have a huge watercolor, gouache palette, watercolor gouache palette that I never use. And it's, kind of for sale. I haven't really advertised it anywhere, but I have 2 big Robax palettes. I love them, but I don't use them. And they kind of are both for sale. So if anybody's interested, PM me later through Facebook, or send me an email or something. They're not cheap, and shipping is going to probably be pricey, but they're full of paint, artist quality paint in some cases. So anyway, yes, these flowers, I don't know what they're called. These are the photos. I did already get paint on this one, but they were beautiful. The copy of one of the copies of the pictures is on my website. Yeah, so you can always scratch in there to bring some of the white back, or to have to, hey Patricia, or to give yourself a groove or more texture in the paper where the paint will actually sink in. If you watch Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter's video where she reviewed the Daniel Smith paints and she painted Chinese lantern flowers, she did that with the leaves, and she scratched in the leaves to create a vein, and all the green paint went and sunk right in that scratch mark. And that's a way to do it. You can also leave white space by using, of course, masking fluid. You could use a white wax resist or a wax resist. I just use a white Crayola crayon. The photo was taken at a birthday party that I was at with family and friends, and I was just completely distracted as usual because I'm distracted a lot. My name's Dory. Hello world, my name is Dory. And I always have my phone with me, and I couldn't help it and took a picture of the flowers. I took a few pictures. They were just such an interesting color combination. Oh, I'm sorry, Patricia. That sucks. The recording will be on YouTube later, the rebroadcast. I just, you know, I'm distracted a lot. The other question I get asked a lot is, what do I take my inspiration photos with? My phone. I've been taking them with my phone since I had an iPhone 4. I just use my phone, and it works great, and it gets me good enough pictures to do my paintings from. In some cases, they get a really good shot. That's not really because I know what I'm doing. It's completely by accident, I'll have you know. And this little dish, you know, these little white porcelain plates I use for mixing are either from the Dollar Tree or the Japanese dollar store. I have them in different sizes, and they are fabulous for ink, paint, and they're porcelain, so they wash off easily. So you don't have to have separate ones for like acrylic or ink or watercolor. You can just have one and just clean it. African daisies. Okay, that's great to know. They're fabulous. I love them. They didn't have it, you know, sometimes like when I repot flowers, especially if it's something interesting, I sometimes leave the tag in the pot, and I did look for the tag that wasn't in the pot. I don't know. And so now we've painted it a couple of times, and this is the watercolor version, and let's see, grab it off the wall. Here's the acrylic version that we did on Monday with DecoArt. No, I haven't, Lisa. I have not upgraded to Windows 10. I have editing software. I'm worried about not being able to take the change, and honestly, I like the Windows I have. I don't see any need to upgrade. I will be, hopefully, in the next year buying a new computer, and I'll probably be switching to Apple from a PC because I think it would be easier on the video editing process and some of the picture creation things I'm doing right now. So this is the brush that comes in the PBO kit. It is a pocket-like travel brush. It does come apart in 2 pieces, and then it screws back together. It reminds me of a Chinese like ink brush in the way that in its appearance and the way that it's made. I haven't actually used this one, so how about if we do a quick test? We need paper. Hold on, we need paper. My table's a mess. Okay, here's a little scrap of watercolor paper. This is some 140-pound paper. It has a little bit of modeling paste on it. I don't know if you guys can even see that on camera. It looks like through Paginella. I save all these little scraps for doing stuff like this. So let's get the brush wet. I haven't used this brush. And I'm going to get this wet. Oh, hey, Shelly. We won't tell anyone. I'm almost done, though. Sorry. So here, I'm going to get this paper wet. And I am going to use, I want to just see how this brush works. So we are going to use, What color? I don't know what color it is. One of the blues. Prussian blue. It works pretty well. You can see now that there's modeling paste on here. Seems like a good brush for washes. I don't know that it would be good for detail work. It does come to sort of a point, but it's like a rounded point. So I think it would be tricky. It's kind of too floppy to do detail work, but it'd be a good wash brush. And I don't, but it's interesting brush. I mean, I'll use it because, you know, I don't really not use any brushes. But there you have it. This is the brush it comes with. It does come with a brush, the 24 set. The pocket set does not come with a brush. I wonder if this brush fits in here. Actually, now that I'm thinking about that, I think it's too big. Oh, no, maybe not. Oh, nope, it fits. Look at that. Huh, that's cool. I don't know if a koi travel brush would fit in here. It might, that space might not be big enough. This is the PBO pocket set, which I haven't used yet. I have to swatch all the colors. All right, does anybody have any questions? So you can get the PBO watercolors on Amazon. You probably can find them at your fine art supply stores if they carry PBO paints. If you're in California, I know in Santa Cruz, there's Palace Art and Office Supply. They have PBO acrylics. I don't know if they have the watercolor, but I know they have the acrylics. I just went ahead and got mine from Amazon. Both the pocket kit and the 24 round palette are both from Amazon. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know. I just know they were pretty, so I took a picture. Because that's what I do. All righty, that's it for right now. Don't forget the most important thing. Here's a copy of the color key for the round palette. It has, again, 24 colors in it. What's the most important thing? Y'all know what it is, right? First of all, be nice to each other, because like there's enough hate in the world. I'm sick of all the hate, that, you know, horrible posts. This picture, along with many others, are on my website, free for you to use for art inspiration. If you create something you want to sell from the picture, feel free. You can do that. Ian and others are loading inspiration photos to the Facebook group. So if you're not members of my Facebook group yet, go to this broadcast description and look for the link. It's in there. And there's lots of free stuff, including I downloaded some free stencil designs for silhouette people. There are very raw JPEGs for the basic doodles that I created the stencils from. You can also download if you're not a silhouette person, but they're very raw and unedited, FYI. The most important thing is to be nice to yourself and everybody else. You deserve it, and probably they do too. And there's enough hate in the world right now. Go out and have a great day. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to other people. And I'll see you later. Have fun making art and share. I would love to see what you guys do with it. All right. See you later, guys. Bye.